Pelotero Pickle, episode 27. Join us as we discuss Chris Colabello getting active on Twitter, getting some traction too. We got a Grand Slam situation where the runner didn't touch the base. We talk about that. Then we get into some hot stove stuff with the post show. And should Tom Brady be getting shamed for throwing the Lombardi trophy from a boat? Let's get it. Pickle, special holiday winter. What is happening in Texas? Episode 27 edition. I'm coming to you live from Dustin Geiger's office in his house because he has electricity and I don't. Chris is coming to you from his car because we couldn't record normal times. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. The apocalypse is upon you, man. It's Armageddon down there. So
the amount of snow that we got down here is like a Tuesday in Massachusetts.
Exactly. That's what I've been describing it as.
It's a 90-minute delay at best. Down here, they don't have snow shovels. They don't have ice scrapers. They don't have trucks with plows on them. They don't have salt and sand to treat the roads. But basically, like if it snows here, you just wait until it melts. Unfortunately, it's below freezing temperatures for over a week. So basically just take it on the chin, Texas. Here we are.
My two favorite things that
45 degrees in there this morning.
My two favorite things that you've said to me to this point about your experiences right now are, one, you use the word snow shovels as opposed to just shovels, which is great in and of itself because I get it. Like there's a difference between a snow shovel and like a metal shovel with a wooden handle that you dig holes with. I'm
a big snow shovel snob also. Like I love the ones that are long that you can push the snow if you get ahead of the snowstorm and then you just do rows. I'm like, when it comes to like physical labor, cutting the grass, creating lines, shoveling the driveway, like I'm all into it. So yeah, it's a snow shovel. It's not like a metal shovel. You're not edging your shrubbery.
I've been around you in those circumstances, so I know. And the other thing is, my favorite thing is your reaction. You're like, yep, the plow's coming down the street. And then you just look outside and there's no plows. You guys don't have plows.
Yeah. It finished snowing at like 5-6 o'clock in the morning the other night. In the Northeast or any cold weather state, like that's when the plows are out. First of all, they're ahead of it. So they're going to treat the roads first. But by the time the snow stops, you got plows going through everywhere.
Yep.
And then the other thing is it's all like these private communities with HOAs that they're responsible for their own roads and stuff. It is a mess. They are not prepared for this type of weather.
Hey, Bobby.
The energy grid is just crumbling right now.
So that ain't it.
The wind turbines are frozen. Natural gas equipment's freezing. It's
people don't know how to slow drip their sinks so the pipes don't freeze. Yeah, it's just a casual Tuesday in Massachusetts, man.
Yep, pretty wild. Let's get into the topics here. You have gotten active on Twitter. Wild stuff coming from CC20 Rake. You had some talk about some best swings. Just had a little thread there. Maybe Patrick could put the tweet up in the video here. But you're talking about like creating your best swing when you're not best, I guess. Like being good when you're not good. Let's just talk about that for a minute.
So the irony of all this is it stemmed from one of our college hitter that we know pretty well had reached out to me with 4 side view videos, basically him absolutely obliterating 4 balls, no context to the round. It was just 4 separate swings. And he's like, what do you got? And I'm like, you hit 4 missiles. Good job. Like, what do you want me to say? Right. And that's in that situation, that circumstance. And it goes to a lot of the conversations that you and I had. So in that moment in time, I just said, you know what, I'm going to tweet this. And I had no idea how much activity this tweet was going to get. I think it's like up to over 350 likes, probably close to 50 retweets.
You got some activity. That's nice.
Yeah, I was shocked at how much people engaged with that.
Followers, you better get some activity. That's like your first hitting content post in a while, though. Like, you're getting in the week. Can we expect
I get it
moving forward?
So yeah, I'm all in. So the whole point
Football season's
was
over. We're moving on from Tom Brady. I'm looking at. I'm going down your feed here. I got Tom Brady. I got Tom Brady. We got Gronk. Like a lot of dear Tom Brady, please never retire. Okay, thanks.
yeah.
Eyes, Tom Brady. I would put this guy Tom Brady.
So if you've noticed, I have usually two goals with my social media. One is to get Tom Brady's attention first and foremost. Like I just want Tom Brady's attention. That's all. I heart Tom Brady, obviously. Like, and case in point, best player ever, 7 Super Bowls. That's why I heart him, and I knew he'd win his 7th. NBD, right? I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. But the other thing I try to do is be authentic, right? Like I don't need to post the same stuff everybody else is posting. So I thought, this would get a little bit of attention from the hitting world, but certainly not as much as it did, because it's such an obvious thing to me, right? And I kind of just got to a breaking point where I said, look, why are we trying to create optimal swings instead of swings that are optimal for all kinds of different situations, right? Like the point is, in baseball, you don't get paid for your best swing. You don't get paid for the best pitch that you ever throw. You get paid for the ability to do it over and over again. And we have young players who are using technology and using video to literally find their best. And you want to talk about the ultimate paralyzer? Like, in my opinion, this is the ultimate paralysis by analysis, right? Because you're always searching for better, and really, what is better? I don't know what better is. I don't know what your best is. Like, and frankly, I don't care. I just care that you have the ability to get hits when things aren't good, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, there's a huge trend with technology to optimize. That's like a big thing right now. Optimize. Very much a carryover from the golf world, where there's a static ball and you're trying to optimize your ball flight characteristics. You're trying to optimize your swing sequence. Baseball is not a game about optimization. The number of times you're going to be optimal is so few that consistency to be good enough is the rule. Like you can't just try to optimize everything. I had a similar situation where a high school player sent me some video. He's like, "Hey, do you see anything?" And his swing looked great. I was like, "How are you hitting the ball?" He's like, "Oh, I'm killing it." Like, you can ask my coach, he'll tell you, like, killing it. I was like, "All right, so like, why are you sending me video?" He's like, "Well, I think my foot's getting down late." I was like, "What?" And I just said, "Be careful. You got to be careful what you're trying to change, because first of all, you're doing it against underhand flips. So how are you making the judgment that you're late against underhand flips? Like, if you hop in the cage against like high speed velo off the machine and you're literally swinging and missing late, then okay, yeah, maybe let's talk about your timing." It's scary to me that kids will go there first. It's not, I'm killing the ball. I get it. You want to get better. Like, go lift some weights, get stronger. Like, you got to be careful. You got to be really careful about when you try to make adjustments. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about. What we're doing with Pelotero is helping players identify those weaknesses in a way that's very real, with results and direction of what you need to work on to get better. Like, we just need to help more people see like the reality of the game, and not just be like, "Oh, well, if you get your hip rotation speed to be this number, then you're going to be better. Or if your bat speed is this high, then you're a better hitter." It's like, no, that's it's not what's happening.
Yeah, there is no metric currently that defines a good hitter. Literally, let's put that out in the universe. There is not a metric that exists. Huh?
Batting average, hard hit percentage, line drive percentage, those would be up in my book.
Right, but I'm saying like a measurable, right? Like a measurable that doesn't happen over the course of a season. And when I said metric, like those to me are statistics, right? Those are defining, because over the course of time, your batting average will reflect how good a hitter you are. Your hard hit percentage will reflect how good a hitter you are. And the scary thing about hard hit percentage for me is it leaves some wiggle room for swing and miss, which, whatever, that's neither here nor there. But like, there is no metric that exists in technology, like, yet, I guess, that can say, okay, if this, then that, right? Like, yes, we all want to hit the ball hard. Yes, we'd love to make our bat speed faster. Yes, we'd like to have our hips rotate. I guess have our hips rotate faster. We don't really know. But the problem is the industry is trying to find something to set as a benchmark to go, okay, you have to do this. And, you know, I'm watching all this stuff come out, and it's like that doesn't like directly correlate to a hitter being good. Like, yeah, you can have great VBA, but that doesn't mean you're a good hitter. Like, whatever. Like, it's just so cumbersome. And the thing that I loved, you know, our app posted the video the other day, our Instagram, and kudos to Patrick and our media team for doing this. Like, the video of Ortiz talking to JD Martinez, talking to Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts about, like, what drills do you do when you're struggling? What do you do when you're struggling? You go find the stuff that's uncomfortable. Like, you have to go work on the stuff that you're not good at. And really, that's an identification process. Like, you identify why you're making outs, and ultimately that becomes what your work has to reflect. And if you're not aware enough to recognize that as a player, then let me tell you something, you're playing the wrong sports. You shouldn't, and it's not just baseball, it's anything. Like, if you're missing shots to the left, are you going to keep shooting with the same form in basketball? Like, no, you're going to make an adjustment. You're going to change your wrist angle. You're going to change your release point a little bit, whatever it might be. So it's just easier to do that in other sports because you control the ball, right? As hitters, we don't control the ball. So there's a million different factors that go into what we're doing. And it's just really important that when we're going through that process of self-education, self-awareness, that we actually identify what matters. Like, what do I have to do to prepare for the game? I asked 10 kids in the last week, 10 young amateur hitters. I said, what's your pregame routine? And they're like, well, you know, I do some stretching and then, like, I hit BP. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, sweet routine, you know? And what I meant by routine is, like, what are you doing both mentally and physically to prepare for the pitcher that you're about to face today, for the type of pitcher you're about to face today? What information do you have about yourself that's happened in the last few days? Well, I feel early, or I feel late, or I feel like I'm out, like, you know, hooking balls, like I'm missing under, I'm missing over, whatever those things are, then our work has to ultimately reflect that, because that's the way we build an infrastructure, a database of information for ourselves that will give us things to revert to. And let's not forget, because baseball and hitting is a reaction, we have to build it in as a reaction. And doing it in practice allows us the flexibility to think about it. Like, we have the time and even just within a session to be able to think about what we're doing. In the game, you don't have time to think. You have to react. So we have to create reactions to things that will allow us to handle a two-strike slider, handle a strike ball changeup, you know, handle pitches down in the zone versus up in the zone, so on and so forth.
Yeah, not much to add for me there. That's very well said. Let's move on to the next topic, which involves a runner on third base in a grand slam situation. Runner on third base doesn't touch home plate.
Sorry.
That's real life. We're talking about your team is down 4-1. Kid at the plate hits a grand slam. I believe it was late in the game too, late-ish in the game. Run on third base, gets to right around like the circle, the dirt circle, and just runs to the dugout. Dugout's on the third base side. He like points at a teammate and just runs off. Is this the Instagram of baseball? Have we forgotten what the point of the point of baseball is to score more runs than the other team. And he literally did not touch home plate. It's one thing if you get to the plate and you're like jumping and you're like doing stuff with your teammates, vibing because you just went deep and you missed the plate. But this kid didn't even come close. Like, he didn't even get to the righty batter's box. Number one, like, how does that happen?
You blacked out.
But blacking out is one thing. Like, the whole point of the game is to score runs. Like, I was trying to think of an analogy for another sport. Like, in basketball, what's the equivalent of this? Like, you go to like shoot a jump shot, and instead of shooting it, you just run over to your bench and travel.
Yeah, like in 17 again, when Zac Efron just runs off the court.
It's so wild. And it's great. Like you just didn't even try to touch home plate. You didn't even miss home plate. You veered off and ran to your dugout before you were even capable of reaching. Like he could have laid down and reached for home plate and he wouldn't have touched it.
How mad are you if you're the guy that hit it? Like, how mad are you in that circumstance? Because you just got a grand slam taken away.
Ooh, I just got a special delivery brought to you by Shiner. Shiner Bock, the Texas beer. Thanks, Dustin.
Yeah, no problem.
Made in Shiner, Texas. Appreciate that. So yeah, number one, like, how does this even happen? Patrick brought up there's a really good conversation piece among teammates. How long does that guy hold a grudge? Like how?
Forever.
Like, forever situation?
Forever. I'm going to tell you a funny story. I'm going to make this about me because that's what I do. So in Double-A, now Chris Herman, probably about parts of 8 seasons in the big leagues, really good catcher, really solid player. Chris Herman just signed with the Boston Red Sox. He's excited. He's coming up to Massachusetts. Worst case scenario, ends up in AAA in Worcester, right down the street from my house. But regardless, like, we'll get to spend some time together. Chris Herman in 2012, we were in Double-A. Chris Herman, I hit a ball off the center field wall for the New Britain Rockets, and it was bases loaded, 1 out. I hit a ball off the center field wall. Like, I showtimed at home plate. Like, I held it. Like, and I always told guys on base, I said, just watch me. You'll know how to react. And literally, the ball goes off the center field wall, and he did this, like, back and forth, like, went back to tag, ran the wrong direction every time. And he ends up only getting to third, and it should have been a bases clearing double. I finished the season that year with 98 RBIs. And to this day, I hold it against Chris Herman that I didn't finish that year with 100 stakes because all he had to do was not black out and run the bases. Now, that's certainly a more difficult situation than this one. And I've held that grudge for 9 years. So in this case, forever.
So salty. Such a salty bit.
Yeah.
This goes back. I've told this. I don't know if I've told the story on Pickle, but I've talked about this a bunch. There's a New Hampshire high school baseball game, postseason game. The heck, I think a bunch of snow just fell off the house.
Apocalypse.
That was like loud. You don't hear those noises in New Hampshire. So this kid, it's a playoff game, right? High school playoff game, tie game, like seventh, like last inning. Kid who's going to a Division I school, like this is a good baseball player, good talented player, rips a single, like line drive a little bit towards, like to the left of the second baseman, line drive to the outfield. Center fielder had to like move to his left to scoop up the ball and throw it in. This kid to say he took a turnaround first would be like a misrepresentation of taking a turnaround first. He basically like got to first base and stopped before the center fielder picked up the ball. And this kid's fast. He's like a stolen base threat. So we got a kid in a high school playoff game, tie game, late. Like this is like a big moment, and was so satisfied with getting a hit that he wasn't trying to look for the next play. Like it's a play where you like go and you can really put pressure on the outfielder by taking an aggressive turn. If he bobbles it, you cruise in standing, like one of those type of, like from a time standpoint. He just stopped. He got to first. His back was turned to the outfielder, and he's like giving it, daps to the first base coach before the ball's even in. And I'm just in the stands like, I'm going to leave because I don't understand. I don't understand what you're doing there. If you're not trying to win the game, why are you there? If you're not looking to make that next play, it's baffling to me, and I can't relate to it. It makes me mad. So when I see a play like this, when you see like the predetermined bat flips, I just wonder like, why is this kid here? Like, what's he doing?
Well, it's the part of
when I went to the field every day, my primary concern was to win the baseball game. And to do that, you have to score more runs. You have to put pressure on the other team. You have to be better than them. You have to compete and win situations. So if you're a base runner on third base in a go-ahead grand slam and you don't even come close to touching, like how does that happen? I fundamentally don't understand how it happens. It's baffling to me.
Well, I think it's we live in a generation, and maybe it's not just a generation. Maybe we're just getting old and salty, Bobby. I think that might be part of it, but I don't know. Like, winning meant a lot to us when we were kids. I think we certainly we cared about our own statistics and our own performance, but at the same time, we were more concerned with winning the baseball game, and that spoke volumes about. And you see it to this day. Like, it speaks volumes about the type of kids that are being recruited and asked to partake in I don't know, all these big time events for amateur players now. And the thing that I think just irritates me is, like, now we used to say it about minor league baseball, right? Like, minor league baseball, the focus wasn't on winning because we were just focusing on developing. But at what point is winning not part of development? At what point is, like, figuring out how to win games not important? And look, I get it, right? Like, it shouldn't be the only thing. It should be about the process that you take to try to win and try to compete and things like that. But, you know, I can't stand for mental errors. It was like it's always the mental errors that kill you as a coach, right? Like, we say, make as many physical errors as you want. Like, you're going to learn, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to get better because of it. But the mental errors are really the things that ultimately drive you crazy as a coach or a person that's been around the game long enough, because it's just a lack of focus. It's a lack of focusing on the right things. And, you know, they can happen at a young age once or twice, but in this case, certainly I don't think there's any real excuse that can be made for not walking and touching home plate, because literally it's walking. It's just walking and doing the thing that you know you're supposed to do. So I understand excitement can take over, but it's a prime example of emotion clouding somebody's judgment. And, you know, such is life, I guess. Poor kid that hit the grand slam, who now, you know, does it even count as a hit? Does he get, you know, is it a fielder's choice? Is he forced out? So now he's 0 for 1 instead of having a homer. I don't know how that works.
I don't know how that scored, because there's nobody advanced. And technically he didn't reach first base. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be one of those weird circumstances, like when you hit a runner with the ball, you still get a hit.
Yeah.
But even though it was like, I had one of those. Chris Herman was involved in that also. I hit a ground ball off Chris Herman as he was sliding into second base at Lehigh Valley.
Chris Herman, welcome to Worcester.
No, well, that one actually helped me.
Paul Bella's going to tell stories about you all the time in Worcester.
That turned into a 4-hit game, believe that or not. Like, he slid into second, and the ball hit him as it would have been a 4-3. It was Cesar Hernandez was playing second base for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. Is that what they're called? Yeah. And Herman slid into second, and right before he got to the base, the ball hit him and ended up being a single for me, which would have been a 4-3. And then I got 4 hits that day. So thanks for that, Herm, I guess.
Robin Ventura had the walk-off grand slam single at one point.
Yeah, when Todd Pratt tackled him because he never finished the trip around the bases.
Recorded though, so as long as he touched first base, it advanced the runners.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We might have to take that to Twitter.
Yeah,
we use this as a Twitter post to tag Matt Pearson. He's big rule book aficionado.
Yeah.
Let's move into the post show. We got some hot stove situations. I'm actually really curious to hear what you think about the Benintendi trade. The Red Sox outfield, they had Betts, Benintendi, and JBJ, Jackie Bradley.
They go.
They used to do all the fun dance moves. Whoever
that was sick, by the way. I watched highlights of that. That was tight.
Fun. And now the only person left is JBJ. Is he a free agent now?
Here you go. He
signed?
Free agent. So, nah, he's just on the market.
This young core outfield group, and they go. By the way, Kevin Pillar to the Mets. Just saw that today.
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit last night. He was. I told him, I said, just give it 2 weeks. You'll be in the starting lineup every day, and might as well win the batting title. You know, ironic. And I don't want to make this about Kevin, but such a great player. And you know, I saw Jerks and Profar just got a 3-year deal worth like, I don't know, 20, 25, $30 million, something like that. And Kevin Pillar had to slide out a 1-year, $5 million deal that, you know, could be worth up to 2 and 10 if he hits some incentives and things like that. But there's no scenario in where I would take, you know, no offense to Jerks and Profar. I think he's talented, but there's no scenario where I would take him over Kevin. So, yeah, I mean, it'll just play itself out like it has over the last 4 years. He'll go somewhere and they'll be like, yeah, he's going to be a 4th outfielder because his WAR is whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to say he's going to do something to help your team win every day, and you're going to see it. You're going to go, oh, man, I got to get that guy in the lineup. You know, knock a day keeps the DFA away. I just put that on Instagram as a reply to somebody. Like, Dante used to say that all the time. Like, figure out a way to get a knock a day. Figure out a way to do something to help your team win. That's a Getty line, man. Like, and then that's the stuff you notice during the season that gets overlooked by all these metrics and data that, you know, they're trying to define players based on their WAR and pay them less than what their WAR is so they can get surplus value. And it's really genius from a business perspective, honestly. But, you know, when it comes to a human, you know, what are you doing to help my team win perspective, it's certainly not the best.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Benintendi in particular?
Well, with Benny, I think he's a nice little player. I think he's, you know, he came into a situation in Boston where the team was good right away, right? So he was a solid everyday left fielder for them. He can hit a little bit, certainly. I think, you know, mechanically speaking, he has some limitations, and I think you and I can both agree on that. And there's some things certainly that I think if he's willing to make some changes, he can turn into a really, really solid player, like the kind of guy that can go 300 with 20 or 30 every year. You know, but he is who he is. And like, we just saw a reflection last year of, you know, what his worst can look like. And that's for a million different reasons, right? That's not just for, you know, based on the fact that his mechanics are what they are or whatever. But, you know, I think it's good for the Royals because you're getting a guy who should theoretically be hungry to bounce back. You know, and I think Boston was at a place where they were, you know, probably like, okay, well, we just don't think, you know, he is who everybody else thinks he could be. But, you know, it remains to be seen. The thing's on him at this point to decide what player he wants to be. If he takes this as, well, I'm just going to keep doing the same things, then I think the potential for, you know, another like laying another egg exists. Where if he makes some adjustments, I think he can get back to being a 285 with 15 homers type of guy. And if he decides he wants to be better than that, then I think that's in the cards too. So this is one of those situations where it remains to be seen. And the player has to make a decision themselves. They have to decide who they want to be. You know, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. He's young still. I mean, this is his age 26 season. He's going to be like that 275, 15 to 20 homers, you know, solid player. Is he going to be not an all-star type player, but solid for sure. So yeah. I thought maybe they gave up on him a little too soon. Signed for 2 years, $10 million. So it's playing at like a $5 million year.
Yeah. I think Boston's kind of chalked up the fact that they, you know, and this is, it's funny how these things happen. It happened to us in Toronto. You know, you have a new group that comes in, front office, ownership, whatever they are. And, you know, they want to go with their own guys. They want to feel like they leave their own mark or whatever it might be. And certainly I don't feel strongly about the deal in one way or the other. Let's put it that way. Like, I don't feel strongly that it's a good or bad deal for either party. Obviously Boston got to a point where they felt like, you know, they were, I guess, over it, so to say. And who knows, man? We'll see. Only time will tell.
Yep. And the other big hot stove item, Justin Turner staying with the Dodgers. What is their payroll right now? Like $300 million? What's happening?
They're threatening going over.
They gave him $34 million.
Yeah. So the threshold is at 250, I think, this year.
For what?
Just the luxury tax. So they're like on pace right now to breach it, to go over. But it's close. It's one of those situations where, and look, at the end of the day, kudos to the Dodgers because, like, go get all the best players ever and win every game if you can. And I understand that, you know, the market and the ownership group are the ones that ultimately, like, you know, have an impact on that. But, you know, what I would say is, like, good for them. Good for them. Like they're going out and trying to win.
Competitive balance tax threshold is 210.
I think that number moved up.
I just looked it up. Just Googled it.
I read something the other day that said it was closer to 250. And I don't know if that was based on like – no,
226 is what they're at right now.
Yeah, I don't – there was something that they were on pace for like 250, which would take them over where they would lose a draft pick because they have some offset from either the last couple of years. What's that?
Yeah, I didn't know they were taking draft picks away. I thought it was just a tax.
Yeah, well, it depends on how you go over, I think. So, like, you have some wiggle room based on what you did the 2 years prior to be afforded the luxury of going over and not being penalized for it. So I think 250 might be the number that if they go over 250, they'll lose like 10 or 20 positions in the draft or something like that. It's interesting, but you know what? Prospect's only a prospect till he's a suspect. If you can win now, go for it, man. That's the way I look at it. I mean, take advantage of your circumstances when you have them, and take those opportunities to try to win because it's hard to do, obviously.
Pretty crazy. So Turner back with the Dodgers. Does that solidify them as the favorite? They got basically their whole team back, right?
They're not. Yeah, and they've added too.
Yeah, they added. Added Bauer. Their bullpen is disgusting. Their starting pitching is disgusting. Outfield is disgusting. Infield is disgusting. Like they're stacked.
I'd be hard pressed to pick anybody else at this point, but I mean, in a longer season, more factors, injuries can obviously play a role, but certainly they've positioned themselves to go and repeat. Good for them, man. I think the Padres will be good again. They've basically kept it intact, I think, kind of for the most part.
Every fan base should want their organization doing this. Every fan base should want their team going
instead of complaining. Instead of complaining, oh, why are we paying for this guy?
Crazy. Last story we got. I'm going to call her Sarah Silversmith, complaining about Tom Brady disrespecting the legacy of the Lombardi Trophy by doing one more completion to his career. The Lombardi Trophy went boat to boat. Sarah Silversmith, who knows her grandfather, somebody made the Lombardi Trophy. She's upset that Tom Brady's disgracing his legacy what are we talking about? Tom Brady threw a Lombardi Trophy. It was awesome.
Hey, nobody have fun.
Gronk spiked into the bay. It would have been amazing.
Yeah. Gronk hit the Lombardi Trophy with a baseball 2 years ago, and nobody said boo because, it's Gronk. I think everybody has this innate desire to knock Tom Brady off a cliff, including, Max Kellerman's finally stopped trying, which is nice. But, it's funny, man.
Kellerman's whole cliff thing, he's going to fall off the cliff. He finally came out and he's like, he's had a Hall of Fame career since after I made that prediction.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's so easy for everybody to take a stance or have an opinion on everything. I read an article the other day that was, about Tom Brady and wearing masks and things like that. Like, can we just leave the guy alone? Can we just leave him alone? The
players that put the mask on, if you're doing it it's your own personal choice. I get it.
Yeah.
But when they were fining the coaches for not wearing masks, $15,000 a game or something like that.
Well,
they're tested relentlessly. Number one. Number two, they're playing in Florida where there's no mask mandates. They can do whatever they want. And so Tom Brady without a mask on, surrounded by players that he's constantly tested with. I mean,
people
sensitive to COVID and the reality that people are losing their lives, but there's free will exists still.
So this is the same thing, Bobby, as I would say, about a lot of stuff that, we're just trying to knock people off the horse, man. We're trying to knock them off the mountain, dude. And I just want people to appreciate greatness more, man. That's all. Let him throw the trophy. Let him throw it.
The refs would have flagged him. You see Winston Jr. it was a $7,500 fine or $15,000 fine for the peace sign.
Winfield, that was, hey, I loved it. I thought it was super competitive. You do it to me. It's like a pitcher pitcher feeling like a hitter can't show him up after he does. So what are you going to do? The world's crazy. The apocalypse. Armageddon.
So
Texas has snow.
Just to come full circle, when push comes to shove, there's a bunch of criticisms right there.
Yeah.
We saw the 180 facility where our office is down here.
Yeah.
They have a turf field that's covered in snow. Their outdoor cages are covered in snow. They have a full net around their turf infield, and it's like bending the poles because there's so much ice on it and so much weight being brought down. Like this is shaping up to be a week-long event. Like nothing's going to be open for a week down here. Can you imagine in the Northeast if it snowed 6 inches and everything shut down for a week?
We're talking about a little snow. Talking about a little snow, dog. A little snow, a little ice.
Hibernate
Let's go.
If that happened.
Let's go. We talking about a little snow here. Come on.
Wild. It's
Yeah.
wild. I've told people stories down here about my career at the University of Vermont. The coldest I've ever been, walking to practice at 5 a.m. For a 5 a.m. practice. So I'm walking to practice at 4:30 to get to the gym. And I sniffled and my nostrils froze together. And then I blinked and my eyelashes froze shut. That's the coldest I've ever been. People, it's like 9 degrees here. And they're like, oh, it's so cold. It was like our developer, Jonathan, it was his first time ever experiencing single digits.
Yeah. Hey, all I have to say about that is it's all part of it, babe. It's all part of it.
It's all relative. And then like in the summertime, it's going to be 115. So
hang with them.
It's just weird. It's weird down here. So
hang with them.
Warm. We're going to try to stay safe. We're going to just wait for everything to melt because that's basically the only option. And yeah, I got power now, so I can actually do work. So that's good.
Go get them, kid.
All right. That'll wrap up. Pelotero Pickle, episode 27, Snowmageddon edition.
Waving, but nobody can see it. I'm waving. Nobody can see it.
All right. That's our show.
See ya.
See ya.